How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to one of my patch notes, update notes videos. We got Season 22, we got the relaxed building rules, the reworked camp workshop, item locking, some more combat rebalancing. We'll see what else they snuck into today's update. Alright, so jumping straight in, it's saying today's update is a huge one for the builders. A reworked workshop UI makes finding the items you want to build faster, while relaxed build rules in adventure mode gives everyone more freedom to create the camp of their dreams. We're also nearing the end of combat rebalancing, or the combat rebalancing project that kicked off last year with a significant increase to melee weapon damage, boosted damage over time effects, improving the feel of manual aiming, and some changes to V.A.T.S that make the experience more reliable. There's a lot to dig into, so go ahead and get started. Yep, we got a lot of goodies to look forward to if you're interested in camp building. I would say if you're less inclined to be spending some time working on your camp, your workshops, this update may be a little less for you, or at least a big chunk of today's update. Like they did mention, there is combat improvements and rebalances. They also have item locking that we'll get to later. But in the update highlights, we got relaxed building rules. We'll be able to unleash our creativity, and then it'll allow us to build new styles of camps. We got the reworked workshop UI. The workshop UI has been revamped to make it easier for you to get the camp items you're looking for. I don't think we have a search feature, but we'll get to that soon enough. Item locking. Never accidentally scrap your gear again with this highly requested feature. Combat, improvements to manual aiming and V.A.T.S, plus a bunch of damage and range increases. Alright, so if camp building isn't for you, there's a couple things you have to look forward to in addition to the next season, Season 22. Appalachian Modern Living. A modern dweller needs a modern home. Alright, so straight away with relaxed building rules. For those of you who like to build camps in Fallout worlds, you already know the benefit that relaxed build rules provide. So I'll also mention that I've only utilized the Fallout worlds, or my own custom Fallout world, maybe a handful of times or less. And right away when it first was introduced, I picked Watoga. I was like, I want to build on the rooftops of the buildings. I started some stuff and I was really intrigued at what you could do. And then the whole idea of not being able to have your progress in a Fallout world transferred to the main adventure world didn't make sense to me, so I just spent all my time basically in adventure mode. But in terms of being creative in Fallout worlds, over the years we've seen some people do some really creative things. So now we get to share that with everybody. Now you don't have to do anything too crazy. You don't gotta merge items with flamethrower traps or pressure plates or any of that. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, even better. You don't gotta worry about anything. So we got snapping items. Items can snap together in a way that they used to, but now items that used to require snapping are allowed to not snap. Oversnapping your walls to get wallpaper on both sides is also possible now, and walls can be built beneath the floor, and upper floors can be attached to walls without needing a staircase. It's a great update so far. Placement mode toggles. We'll have 3 different ones to choose from: snap mode, normal, collision mode. It says items will not auto snap, but will consider collisions, and then free mode, no snapping and no collisions. Placement restrictions. While there's still some items that require ground placement, crops, extractors, items that require water to be placed, placement restrictions have been loosened for others, allowing you to place them freely. Yes, this means in the air too. So floating camps. Over the years, we've seen some very interesting floating camps, especially like the UFO camps, but just people's like mini Pridwins, little vertibirds, different, you know, aerial vehicles, and even floating houses. Really curious to see what people come up with now that you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to float it via some stairs. You don't have to... I don't know. I don't even know how half the people were able to get stuff floating in the sky without anything connecting to the ground, but no longer a worry of today. So we got foundations. Items that used to require a foundation to be placed no longer have that requirement. Also, when removing an item, you no longer have to worry about part of your structure being inaccessible. Power cables. Power cables can now be built even if the cable intersects with another object. I wonder if they'll give us the opportunity to turn off, like, I feel like as you have the opportunity to place power cables in different ways, you could probably cram them in an attic space where nobody sees it. I wonder if there's a way to maybe hide the connections of the power cables, if that might be a future update. Just food for thought. Blueprints, no changes here in relation to new build rules. You can build blueprints with intersecting, floating, or unsupported objects in it. So I was able to blueprint a couple of items, probably over the past year or two, that after you go to place them, it doesn't work. So for a while I was like, oh, okay, it's a shame, that was a waste. But now no longer. And I say it's a waste because being there was intersected and like merged together objects, when you would place it, it would place, if there was 3 objects, instead of all of them being crammed into each other, it would just be like 1, 2, and 3 stacked on top of each other. I'm hoping, and I'll test out this ASAP with the community when we also build together, I would imagine being able to place those old ones would still let me place it without that. Worst comes to worst, I would just recreate a blueprint. But the good news is, if you have some creative friends that come up with some interesting things, you're going to be able to maybe get into a private team with them, go to their camps, blueprint a couple things, and then place them at your your camp or workshop or shelter or anything like that. I think that's going to be definitely a nice community aspect, where it's almost like, oh, I really like what you built over there. Do you mind if I blueprint that and maybe like improve that or mess with that? It might be, that's how I kind of see the dialogue going. But more on blueprints and all that soon. So we got Workshop 2.0. Coming along with this update is a complete rework of the workshop menu. With the refresh focus on findability and organization, this new UI should make it a lot easier for you to get to the items you need. We've been testing this internally and are excited for you to get your hands on it. I've seen a little bit of previews. I also, lately, with a lot of 76 content, I'm like, alright, I understand there's the PTS, there's a lot of notes and things and screenshots that get shared, but genuinely like to get into a lot of this content with the community throughout the week, kind of, I guess, candidly, in a way, where it's like, this is the first time I'm really experiencing it, and get to share a lot of those initial reactions with the community. Especially an update like this, where it's like everybody's individual creativity is going to shine. This is going to be one of those things where you're going to want to learn from each other, learn with each other. It's going to be very interesting. Alright, so we have new categories. I do just want to mention that, for example, the history has new, recent, blueprinted, and stored. I think these are going to be categories that we revisit often, but the categories for all the different builds are quests, recent, history that I just mentioned, camp pieces, defense, and also let me mention, feel free to pause the video if you need to go through any of these, and I also will have the link in the video if you want to go over any of these notes yourself. But we got defense, power, lights, resources, utility, furniture, decorations. This is interesting, seeing how some of these stayed and some of these are getting split between things. So no longer is it floor decor and wall decor, it's furniture, a bunch of stuff within that, decorations, a bunch of stuff within that, specifically wall decor. I'm liking the way they split this up. Storage, structure, and dwellers, formerly allies. The modify menu. The modify menu is your main tool for customizing your camp. This feature has received a major facelift, now giving you more direct access to crucial editing features. Again, I'm just going to mention the categories. Edit mode, wallpapers, locks, blueprints, and replace. Replace is interesting too, because it swap out placed items without needing to scrap and rebuild. You would have seen that with like walls, doors. I'm curious to see if that expands any further, but very useful modes and menus that we will be familiar with. Miscellaneous notes. Wanted to list out some neat features that we think builders will appreciate that don't necessarily require a whole section to themselves. Build and modify mode. So this is related to keyboards and shortcuts. Same thing with new navigation options. Us console plebs have no idea what those. Is that a cheat code? You can filter by buildable, unlockable, and known items. Social menu is blocked while in workshop menus, giving you more space to work with. Saying quest markers and team lists are also hidden while building. I like that. Nice clean UI. The menu will remember which mode you were in when you re-enter it as well. And then in the options menu, you can minimize or maximize the variants panel, as well as expanded the info card. Alright, moving on to Caravans. I still need to go through and do these. We're structuring the objectives in Caravans to ensure players will get their rewards if the Brahmin is left alive, even if they are unable to complete the route, and then the route will only take a maximum of 7 minutes to complete. Caravans will now reward all players the same number of supplies, regardless of who started the event. Interesting. So no longer is it like host is getting the most. Hostess with the mostest. Item locking. Say no to accidental scrapping because you can now protect your favorite items by locking them. I'm so happy they finally added this. This is something that we spoke about for years at this point in the community, and we're finally getting it. We're finally getting it. Lock your weapons, lock your armor. Lock your weapons, lock your armor, lock your power armor. Heck, you can even lock your meds too. This new feature will prevent locked items from being sold, scrapped, traded, and even dropped. Item locking has been a long requested quality of life request. I'm so curious to see what their quality of life list looks like, and I understand over time they'll tackle them as they can. But what does that list look like? Quality of life requests from many in the community. We're really excited about bringing this feature to you. Add or remove a lock anywhere you can interact with items, including the Pip-Boy, stash, workbench, ammo box, player-to-player trading, NPC vendors, vending machines, allies, display cases, corpses, and loot bags. Few notes. Locking an item will not prevent the loss. That makes sense. Like, you can't prevent yourself from losing any junk or anything like that if you die. The next part confuses me a little bit. It says, or prevent items from being used as material for crafting, for cooking, etc. So in my mind, if I collect a bunch of different fish, I, for whatever reason, have one of all the different fish I've ever caught in my stash, with the exception of some glowing ones and axolotls that I may have more than one. And if I go to a cooking station, and I go to make fish bits, and then I accidentally hover over them, I would hope that locking would prevent me from using up one of those. I'm understanding that that is not how that works, and you would lose your fish on cooking it, and it is saying, you know, it will not prevent this. I feel like they should. I don't know. I feel like there should be some sort of, like, the whole junk on death, that makes sense. Like, you can't just, like, whatever. Part of me feels like I don't know why we still have any death penalty, but whatever. If you do lose junk, that would make sense, but cooking, I don't know. If you could somehow lock it, that'd be cool. Accessibility, we made strong strides towards making sure 76 is more accessible to more players. If you would like to look at all the accessibilities featured at the time of this update, you can find that listed in the link. Again, I'll make sure that the entire notes of this video is in the description, and then you can go through all these as you'd like. Very excited to see Mischief Night returning, and just over a month from now. Oh man, can't wait. October 7th. Prepare to head over to Rapidian. What is Rapidium? Was that the thing from the game The Altars? I think it was. In any case, that's a story for another day. Rapidan camp in Skyline Valley to enjoy the refreshed take on a fun and chaotic event. So no longer are we going to White Springs and having cars blowing up or whatever happened within the first so many years of the game, but we're going to Skyline Valley. Very curious to see. Ping and emote swap. Thanks to community feedback, we decided to flip the press and hold that's being used to bring up the emote wheel, the ping on the screen. So I like the way they did it. They're saying when playing with the controller, ping can be activated by pressing and holding the down button on the D-pad. And then now the emote is set to press down the D-pad. So that makes it a little bit easier to get those. We got a preview for Season 22, Appalachian Modern Living. Feel free to check that out. Again, this season is geared towards camp building, and very excited for some of the rewards that I've already been able to preview. We'll see what we're able to unlock. I'm hoping this season that I am able to hit 100 way faster. than I have in previous ones, just so we can claim all these goodies. I'm going to do all this camp building, and I'm going to want to put them on display, right? No time to waste. We got the combat balancing. So throughout the rest of this, I'm going to highlight a few things. I am going to skim through this video. Like I said before, feel free to pause the video to read these at your leisure, and then the description will have the link to all this. You can check it out on your own. But it says, in the Gone Fishing release notes, we shared an update on how we felt the combat rebalancing project we kicked off during Skyline Valley was going. And they mentioned that they've seen a significant improvement in the variety of ranged weapons being used, fewer difficulty spikes in early to mid-game experience, and increased build diversity among the player base. I will say that yesterday was probably the worst day for me to be like, let me try to refine my build. Because that build also included the Warglaive, which is a two-handed weapon, and I started using like rank 1 of Slugger, Expert Slugger, and Master Slugger, and then I feel like whatever other perks I moved around, I'm going to have work to do after this video, let's just say. I'm going to have to rearrange some of my perks, hopefully for the better. Hopefully for the better. But yeah, today's update continues this process. I feel like we've had, what, 3-4 updates moving weapon damage and other things around. A lot of updates. Let me rephrase that. Not a lot of updates, but a lot of buffs. A lot of times when you see rebalance, and using the word rebalance just seems like a scapegoat to not say nerf, but even if there's been nerfs in previous updates, I feel like there's been a lot more, you know, you can like take a few steps forward. If you take one step back, sure, you're going to upset somebody, but a lot of different balances for the better. We'll see if this update continues that. We will see. Alright, so they're saying improve the manual aim experience, improvements to the V.A.T.S formula, provide a significant buff to melee and ranged weapon damage, boost to damage over time effects, and increase to weapon ranges. And then again, they do have even more notes and details. They're saying if you want to dive into more, you got that as well. Manual aim improvements. Made changes to all ranged weapons to improve players' ability to hit targets outside of V.A.T.S. These changes vary by weapon, include smaller cone of fire, reduced recoil. Additional shots can be fired before reaching peak recoil. Cone of fire now increases less as a result of moving. Reduced cone of fire while crouching, sneaking, or aiming down sights. Spin-up weapons such as the minigun and Gatling laser now have reduced recoil after firing up for a short period of time. I'm curious to see how that is for the Gatling plasma. So I've a few whenever the raid update came out, a few updates back, Gleaming Depths made me go from somebody who's using the Fixer, the railway rifle, the choo-choo, and a couple other different ranged weapons as primary weapons, and then just mess around with some secondaries, to just being like, ooh, heavy weapons are cool. So Gatling plasma became my new favorite weapon for all these past updates. Every once in a while I'll still use other weapons besides my utility weapons, like Teslas or whatever, but in any case, I'm really curious to see if this update, how much more damage I'll do, how it'll also, like, if it feels any different using these weapons, and then as I go back to test other stuff, other weapons, I'm really curious to see. So over the next so many streams, there's going to be a huge focus on kicking off camp building with the community and testing out a lot of these things, and I'll make sure the Twitch link is available as well in the description. But if you're also on Xbox, you're more than welcome to join us. If you're on any other platform, I do like to say the conversations are cross-platform, so definitely share what weapons are doing a whole lot more damage or otherwise. They're also mentioning reduced camera movement for many weapons, actions in first-person view, and medium and long scopes have additional zoom levels. Press the V.A.T.S button to toggle. Ooh, I like that. V.A.T.S also has some changes. The formula for calculating hit chances in V.A.T.S has been rewritten, and they're saying that now it's going to be working like this. Formula begins with an assumption of a max hit chance of 95%. Various factors reduce your hit chance, such as distance to the target, visibility to the target, difficulty of hitting the target's target body parts, your weapon's range, cone of fire, recoil, etc. Beyond about half of the weapon's range, hit chance steadily decreases to 0%, and then below about half of the weapon's range. Penalties to hit chance are reduced. As you close in on the close in on point blank range, hit chance will increase until you have a very high chance of hitting the target. Oh, this all makes sense. But right now I'm reading this, I'm worried that, like, it's like you're aiming at something, you go to shoot, and then you get, like, you're taking 2 steps closer, and then you keep missing, but you keep taking a couple steps closer, you pull the trigger, and then all of a sudden when you hit the target, you're like, finally, and when it zooms out, it's like you're just a few feet away instead of being like what we're used to maintaining that distance. So let's see. Definitely gonna be mindful of all that. Weapon mods. The vast majority of melee and ranged weapon mods have been updated to have more consistent and intuitive effects, and to offer additional choices for a variety of playstyles. There are far too many changes to the list. Well over 1,000 mods updated, yeah. So instead, here's some of the highlights. So I'm gonna probably call out a few of these. What I would really suggest is open up the link to this update, release notes and all that. Hit Control F and then look for your specific mods that you are using. Like, skim through things, but you'd be surprised what you might miss. So I always recommend prioritize the weapons that you're using primarily, just in case you miss something. Alright, but I do want to jump down to bleed, fire, and poison mods, because just before this update dropped, I decided to mess with a few different things. One of them being thorn armor, which would be bleed. So this is me shifting into kind of a melee-focused build. The Warglaive, I believe I have it set to fire, or fire damage, so it's the fire Warglaive, and then I want to say 2 of my armor pieces are poison, or what is it, 10%, because it's 5% each, chance to deal poison damage for however many seconds, and I think this update changes all that. And then I think the chest and then the arms, so that'll be 3 pieces, I think are fire. So I think I stacked 15% fire and 10% poison. Well, I believe this update's going to help me. And I'm really curious to see what the numbers specifically say, but they're saying changes have been made to fire and poison mods to offer better damage over time. We've also made some changes to most of these mods to convert more of their original damage to fire or poison. Mods that add blades to weapons now consistently have a bleed physical damage over time effect. The damage from this effect has been greatly increased. So I'm thinking like the Deathclaw Gauntlet, you start with 2, you add a claw, right? And then you have the Mole Miner Gauntlet, you start with 2, add another one. So those probably will now have increased bleed. I'm not sure if like the Bear Claw or anything else would see bleed added to it. We'll have to find out. Receiver mods, stocks and bayonets, prime receivers. So prime receivers would be good too, because for example, myself, I'm using a prime Gatling mod. So would that not see these crazy damage bonuses? Look at this, plus 35% bonus damage, 20% longer range, plus 15 AP cost, plus 30% weight. Hey, plus 30% weight, you knock it off. Plus 50 value, so I can sell it to a vendor for 50 more caps. Wow. Higher recoil and maximum cone of fire, and then 10% slower rate of fire. Semi-automatic to automatic weapon mods also have some similar changes, and you'll see even things like 50% higher ammo capacity, some reduced range, increased weight, things of that nature. Again, be sure to go through these and see what weapons and what playstyles are going to affect you. Adjustment to hardened receivers. I'm biased and I see the Gatling Plasma mixed into this one. It says Gatling Plasma Splitter mod. I don't know if that means my Gatling Plasma that I'm thinking of, but got those. Got Laser Gun and Ultra Sight Laser Gun Splitter mods. Laser Gun and Ultra Sight Laser Gun Sniper mods. This is a tongue twister, my god. Plasma Gun and Enclave Plasma Gun Sniper mod changes. And then they're saying, this is all we're going to cover here, but the Fallout 76 Camp Revamp Combat Notes article has a lot more detail. So again, that link is within this article as you're going through. We got some perk changes to look forward to. It says, in this update, we are finishing up our rebalancing of weapon perks, which include the heavy melee, thrown, and bow weapons. So at a high level, then perk changes. What? At a high level, then perk changes touch? I don't know how to read this. At a high level, then perk changes touch. Somebody, I'm having a stroke reading this. Help me out. Heavy gunner perks are being replaced with perks that focus on spending ammo to gain bonuses, along with a highly requested perk to decrease the spin-up time on weapons. Melee perks are moving away from one-handed to two-handed designations, and instead these perks will lean into more general properties of melee weapons such as bleed and power attacks. Very interesting. Like I was saying before, I just started using 3 different perk cards of Slugger, all rank 1, all 10% each, giving me 30% damage. So now, just on the surface, I'm not going to be able to do that same amount of damage, but then if I'm able to maybe make a target maybe bleed for more damage, or do more damage while the target's bleeding, or maybe, you know, my power attacks do more damage. That's what it sounds like. We'll get into that specifically shortly. Bow perks are also going to get something. It says we'll be benefiting from thrown melee as well, as the bow weapons with new ways to take down groups of enemies. Send help. We are also standardizing perks and mods that are granting the ability to automatically revive. Ooh, perks with these effects now bypass going into a down state and have a 100% chance to occur, have a cooldown, and require the use of a healing item, such as a stim pack. In addition, all the effects that apply buffs to other players you revive will apply to yourself. When self-reviving, the order in which these effects can occur is fixed. So Scout Banner, EMT perk, life-saving mod, power armor, reboot perk. Okay. So I definitely feel like, well, it's not mentioning Mysterious Savior. Is Mysterious Savior getting some sort of rework? Now I'm maybe a little confused. I might want to swap out one of my armor pieces for life-saving, just so I can utilize that. So the specific perk card changes, like I was mentioning, I'm using Slugger, so rank 1, 2, 3. It says 10% melee damage versus crippled, 20, 30 for each one. Slugger Expert and Slugger Master has Kneecapper and Heavy Hitter. One costs 2, the other one costs 3, and they're both a rank 1. 1 melee weapons deal plus 50% limb damage, no power tools. No power tools. Yeah, it says no power tools, but do they consider like they're not saying, I can't think of the phrasing. The weapons that spin, like chainsaws, like, when you say no power tools, I think of like a drill. I don't know if auto axe is in that category, probably. I don't know. No power tools. Slugger Master says heavy hitter, and then they deal 25% more power attack damage. I don't use power attack. It's a shame because instead of using 3 perks, well, yeah, no, this doesn't make sense to me. I was able to use 3 perk points to get 30% damage to a target. Slugger isn't even the same anymore because it's versus crippled. So you like the first punch might cripple them, and then all of a sudden you're going to see a spike in 10%. I don't know if this is exactly the route I wanted to go with these weapons. I might have to rethink my strategy. So far, as somebody who literally just changed this yesterday, I mean, whatever, I'll go with the flow, but it doesn't seem like a good change to me. Gladiator. I apologize. It's almost feeding time, and the cat is hungry. We got Gladiator, new name, Wound Salter. Oh god, Salt the Wound. Rank 1, 2, and 3. 10, 20, 30% damage against bleeding enemies. So that's interesting, because I don't know if the Warglaive would make a target bleed. I think I need a specific mod for that. So I would have to choose between a fire damage addition to that weapon or a bleed damage. And now if I get bleed damage, then I can rank it to 3, and then all of a sudden get that 30% damage. So those 3 points that I was spending before, I would specifically use it for bleed. And if I'm using Thorn Armor, and the target bleeds regardless, if they hit me, then that would automatically give me that 30% again, maybe. So that's what I'm thinking. We're thinking aloud over here. We also got Gladiator Expert, got a little, didn't get the appropriate indenting. But now it's called Natural Stance. It costs 1 point, and it says, while equipping a melee weapon, reduce incoming stagger by 25%. Don't know if I want that. Moving on. Gladiator Master, now Bloodluster, 1 point. Your bleed effects have 35% more damage and 25 less duration. That is very interesting. So instead of you waiting, I can't remember if it was poison or if it was fire, but like one of them I think lasted 7 seconds. I don't know if those durations changed, but based off of these perks, you're going to see a much bigger chunk being removed and much quicker. I like that. So that, in my mind, would be worth, if I'm only using 3 points, I would use 2 points towards maybe the bleed, and then one of these Gladiator Masters to get that extra 35% damage and duration reduction. Iron Fist, oh man, what do they do? Your fist weapons deal more damage based on your damage resistance. Right? DR, damage resistance? Your fist weapon, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why does it work like that? Deal more damage based on your damage resistance. Isn't the like preview of the perk card some dude with his shirt off ready to like do fisticuffs? What is going on here? It's the opposite of Berserkers? Alright, we're moving on. Heavy Gunner, new name Bulletstorm. Rank 1, there's 1, 2, and 3. It says gain 1 stack of Bulletstorm for every 30 ammo spent, up to 10 stacks. Okay, interesting. 1 stack, so you can get 10 stacks. Each stack increases damage by 3%, so up to a max of 30. Resets when you reload or change weapons. So, as somebody who's using a Gatling Plasma, and I have 500 potential, rounds in the clip, that's rank 1. It'll go up to 10 after I spend 300, which will be 30% increased damage after 300 rounds. Basically, I have to spend half the clip to see that increase in damage. If I go to rank 3, I would get 9, which would do almost double the damage. I feel like rank 1 is not going to be worth it. Rank 2 and 3 is when I can see it being valuable. Note on Bulletstorm, Bulletstorm grants the ability to gain stacking buffs based on ammo spent. This buff increases the damage you deal, and other perks can add additional effects. You can have up to 10 stacks on Bulletstorm, and they last until you change weapons or reload. So just keep going, reload once, make sure you got a full clip, okay. So as somebody who also accidentally reloads a lot, I don't know if it's a muscle memory of Call of Duty or something like that, you empty like half the clip and reload before you're even done. You're gonna have to retrain your brain or your muscle memory. So we got Heavy Gunner Expert, now it's called Tightly Wound. It costs 2 points, and weapons spin up 60% faster. Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. Some of those weapons that take a little bit longer to fire up, or if you get like stunned in the middle of trying to shoot, this would probably bridge that gap a little bit quicker. And then we got a point cost of 3 for Heavy Gunner Master, which is now called Bring in the Big Guns. Your Bulletstorm stack limit is doubled. Wow. Wow, but bad. Why bad? Because if I just said every 30 ammo spent up to 10 stacks, and it now goes up to 20 stacks, it's still based off of ammo spent. So let's think about that. 30 ammo spent, 10 stacks is 300 ammo. My weapon only has 500 in the clip, so every time I hit 500, I would never hit 20. So that seems like a waste on the surface level. Somebody else got to do some calculation to explain that to me if I'm thinking of this in a different way. But if you expect me to hit 600 ammo to get 20, but I would never be able to do that, I would only, whatever, 17, 16, what is it, 16.5 without actually taking out the calculator, whatever damage you're doing still is going to be like nice, but the double, it's not really double. I feel like the limit is 150%. Don't tell me 200 if it's not. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know. If there's another way to get 600 rounds, yeah, that doesn't even make sense. You would get the 600th round, it would give you the damage buff, and then as soon as you reload, you lose it. Okay, sorry. Alright, so we're gonna have to see if Heavy Gunner Master is really worth it. It costs 3 points. I don't think it's worth it. Anybody that's considering that, again, it's not going to be 200%, it's barely 150. It might be 160%, but again, sure, that can do a little bit more damage if you're doing 9% per, right? You can go up to 90% damage at your 10 stacks, and then theoretically you'd be able to do 180% additional damage. No, that'd be crazy. It'd be crazy, but there's limits. There is limits. Alright, so lock and load. You keep half of your bullets. Oh, this is where I'm getting ahead of myself. You keep half of your bullet storm stacks when you reload. Each stack increases reload speed by 1%. Interesting. Okay. So now that costs 2 points. The thing is, these are too expensive. I can't justify having to pair those together for 5 points. I don't know how many points I got back yet. I've not looked at my build. I did have Heavy Gunner Master. I had other things that are being changed, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be coming into some reworks and perks that they're going to have to move around. But yeah, keep an eye out for how your build is impacted. Bear Arms. Each stack of Bulletstorm also increases your bash damage by 5%. I'm so lost. Wasn't Bear Arms they weigh less? Was it not heavy weapons weigh less? Anyways, Pain Train. Improve hit detection and limited hit rate. Counts as a fist weapon. Increased base damage and damage per rank. Uses 5 AP per hit. Interesting. Bow Before Me. I got 2 ranks. 20% armor pen, 5% stagger with bows or thrown melee, and then 40% and 10% stagger. Not going to go through all of these. I do know a few people in the community that are going to be looking forward to some potential bonuses to their archery skills. But Archer, Archer Expert, Archer Master, Tank Killer, Fire in the Hole. Well, we'll just summarize these as the Archer ones were updated, but past that, we got Tank Killer. Your ranged weapons ignore 20 and 40% armor for 1 and 2 ranks. Fire in the Hole is now Strong Arm. Thrown weapons fly 50% further. And then it says, Dev note, the throwing arc effect has been moved to the settings menu. Interesting. Homebody. Improve the benefits of being well rested. Well rested grants 2 agility, Kindred Spirit grants 2 perception, Lover's Embrace grants 2 charisma. This is in addition to what the perk currently grants. Interesting. So they're giving you a quick alright, these are all the different benefits you can get from Homebody. I forget which ones that I was using, but I had perks left over and I was like, let me see what other buffs I can get. Other ones that were like damage resist is increased if you're hydrated or fed, things like that. Stabilized, it costs 2 for 1 rank. Big guns gain 30% accuracy and double that in power armor. EMT, the cost is 2. Automatically revive a down teammate once every 3 minutes and grant them increased healing for 1 minute. It says automatically revived a down teammate. So I wonder what the area of effect for that is. Both players need to be in the same area or interior within a reasonable... yeah, but what is that distance? Like, it's probably more than reasonable. I think EN06 or whatever, like fighting the robot at the raid and just seeing if somebody gets downed if you are able to pick them up. Very curious. Got Injector. Players you revive have 18 AP regen for 1 minute. Revenant. Players you revive have 5% damage for 2 minutes. So interesting. Revenant got changed from rank 1 and 2. I think it was 25 and 50, and now they're just doing 25. Is that because they foresee people just randomly being revived left and right? As much as I would love to take advantage of some of these and get my EMT perk on, imagine you're running like, I don't know, Encrypted. You go to Encrypted and everybody starts getting down, but everybody keeps reviving each other. And if you share this perk, Everybody's like reviving each other. Like I'm very curious to see how much revival is actually going to be happening. If one person shares EMT with 3 others in a team and you're all next to each other and you get downed, does it take turns by who it's proccing from? Like all questions to consider, and a lot of things are going to be testing out this week. A lot of goodies. I was looking forward to a camp build, or camp builds and all that, and now we're looking at different loadouts and all these changes. Healing hands, players you revive are fully healed. Rad sponge, absorb 20% of rads taken and restore hunger and thirst. Ninja has 2 ranks, 50% and 100% sneak damage with melee and bows. Extending this perk to bows and thrown weapons, or noting that was not on bows before. And thrown weapons, interesting. We're going to be walking around with our throwing knives, taking out enemies. Psychopath, hits outside of V.A.T.S, refill your crit meter. Yes, so they changed this a little bit. Cost 2, only for 1 rank. Grim Reaper Sprint. Oh boy. Because I think I had this at rank 3, so now it only costs 2, so I got 1 point back. Kills in V.A.T.S restore your AP based on your luck. Good news is I got like 15 luck. Bloody Mess. Oh boy. Don't you dare touch Bloody Mess. 15% extra damage no matter what was beautiful. How dare you. Bleeding enemies you kill have a chance to explode based on your luck. Don't care about that. Added damage to Gore Explosion that scales with player level. This explosion does not damage you. Chance to proc increases with luck. Bloody Mess has a small chance to proc without the perk equipped based on your luck. What? It's rank 1, assuming it only costs 1. Everything else that costs more than 1 they've been mentioning. Not gonna lie, that sounds like not good. Bloody Mess is like the easiest perk to put into any build because it was just 5, 10, 15% damage, and now bleeding enemies you kill have a chance to explode. That's not raw damage. That's like, here's a chance to do AoE. Throw that out.
You get nothing!
Alright, Power Armor Reboot, automatically revive using a stim. The cooldown is 10, 8, 6, 2 minutes for up to rank 4. Hack and Slash, melee attacks deal 20, 30, 40, 60% of their damage in a small area. Curious. Very curious to see, because I just started using Hack and Slash again as a legendary perk. Or, yeah, a legendary perk. Concentrated Fire, adjusted the Concentrated Fire perk to increase V.A.T.S hit chance for non-automatic weapons by 4, 8, and 12% per shot. And then automatics are still 1, 2, 3. Legendary mods, life saving, chance to auto-revive increased from 50 to 100%, and added a 5-minute cooldown is reduced by 1 minute per additional piece. Oh man, I don't like that change. Because it used to be throw 2 pieces of life saving on and then just hope that one or the other procs. 2 pieces does not mean 100%. It means you flipped a coin twice and you might, you wanted heads, you got tails on both of them. In this one, this is interesting because you're guaranteed to be revived. And if honestly you keep getting down back to back to back to back, maybe, you need to recalculate. But now, 5 pieces for 1 minute cooldown. Interesting. You just every 1 minute get knocked down. Now combine that with like EMT and Revenant, and Revenant's not going to be doing as much damage. Oh, there goes the cat feeder. I'm curious. I am so curious. Lucky renamed it to Lucky Hit. Rejuvenators now adds HP and AP regen to Hunger and Thirst abilities. We got Full and Rejuvenated perk. Rank 2 provides 6 HP and AP regen. So before, I forget what the other perks are, but like now I'm gonna probably utilize things like this. We'll call them like utility perks. Full provides 3 HP and AP regen, while normal, partial, and you see how it continues to scale down. Okay. Choo Choo's this effect has been overhauled to use the Pain Train perk. Each item equipped with this mod grants +1 rank to Pain Train. This can go beyond the max rank of 3 and works even if you do not have the perk equipped. It also adds an on-hit bleeding effect to Pain Train that scales with more Choo Choo mods equipped. At some point I'm going to start using Power Armor, and we'll see what kind of things we can combine with Pain Train and more, and just start running through enemies. I don't know. I don't know. So we got the improvements and fixes. We got multiple categories. I'm going to just briefly mention the subcategories, and again, feel free to pause the video to read the specifics or go through the notes with the link I provided. But we got armors getting some things, books and magazines. Tesla Science 4 now affects ultrasonic Gatling laser ammo count. Don't forget that. Camp got a few different things. Makes sense. A big update focused towards camp stuff, right? Consumables, creatures, events, fishing. I do want to mention a couple things here in gameplay, but gameplay, the floating damage numbers now have a random offset. So I'm curious to see, like, so you don't have this multiple number stacking. I wonder how much they offset. Like, you might have seen that in, like, maybe MMOs or something. When you attack something, you'll see maybe floating damage numbers. Damage over time effects now display floating damage numbers. Reduce the size of visual radius of the explosion for hack and slash legendary perk. Interesting. It says reduce the size of the visual radius. It does not say the actual radius. This does not affect the damage radius of the perk. I should continue to read before I comment on things. Yeah, so interested in, I don't know, you know what, as somebody who was just using hack and slash, and sometimes I notice there is a frame rate drop if you kill too many creatures in a confined area. I think it's maybe the visual was just going too far out, and that's what was causing the frame rate drop, if I had to guess. I don't know. Bloodworms now increases explosion damage correctly. I have no idea what that means. Fixed an issue where the covert operatives bonus would not trigger as expected. So we got a few more between menu, miscellaneous, outfits, and we got, oh, I thought quest was the last one. Quests, vendors, weapons, and finally the workbench. A lot of little things. There's a few things that people, you know, some people were impacted previously with some of these fixes, so definitely go through, see if you got some things patched, a couple things to look forward to. There's actually a lot of things to look forward to. Going all the way back up here. All the way back up here. Workshop 2.0 and all that. Fallout 76 Camp Revamp. Excited. Excited to jump in, get some building, share some ideas with the community, and then you can go over to your friend's camp, you know, get into a private team because you can't do it in a public team. Private team with them, blueprint their stuff, replicate, innovate, you know, all that goodness. But definitely excited. Definitely excited to jump in ASAP. Alright, well, thank you guys for making it to this part in the video. Definitely excited to get to camp building ASAP, testing out some weapons, some new loadouts, and more. Like I mentioned, we do check out some 76 throughout the week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Come on through, come hang out with us. I'll make sure links and all that goodness is available for you guys. Yeah. Good luck with your camp building. Got 1,000,001 ideas. I know I can't wait. I can't wait. Season 22 and more. Enjoy, everybody.